Good morning. Today I'm here to talk about ergonomics and how technology can improve and enhance the benefits of ergonomics. Okay, so let me start by introducing myself. Um, so my name is Ines, I'm Portuguese. Currently I live in the Netherlands and I work at Novility as the lead ergonomics specialist. Just to briefly explain, Novility is an advanced tech solution provider for your hotel operational training. Okay, so let's see. Today I will talk about work-related injuries in hospitality mainly, ergonomics, and I will again talk about technology and connect the dots and see how technology can help ergonomic programs. So let's start with work-related injuries in hospitality. In this graph, we can see all the work-related health problems that we have. So first of all, it's important to know what work-related health problems are. And these are the illnesses, disabilities that are caused or made worse by work. Okay, so we can see that we have at 60% musculoskeletal disorders or MSDs. So all the disabilities that advance from your body, from your constituents of your musculoskeletal system. So we have, for example, low back pain, tension neck syndrome as examples of that. And we can see that they are about 60% of all the work-related health problems. We know these problems exist, and it's a really big problem in general in all the different sectors. So we need to know their causes and to be able to prevent them. So in here, in this graph, you can see excessive force, for example. So this is due to when you lift a load, a box, with an incorrect posture, you have to apply a lot of force. You also have awkward postures, for example, when you clean high or low surfaces, and repetition. So highly repetition, for example, when you're wiping glasses. So you always have to do the same movement over and over again, usually always using the same arm, same hand, instead of dividing the task by both. All of these, combined with long duration or long shifts, they increase highly the MSD risk. And then we have something else, which is fatigue. Okay? So fatigue is a loss in force generation capacity, and your muscles need to rest in order to recover. If they don't have enough recovery time, they are not able to produce the same amount of force as they would without fatigue. And it's more than that. So fatigue, you can also see it in your daily life. It's not only about work. For example, if the other day I ran 5 kilometers and I'm not used to running, and of course the next day I was in a lot of pain, and this is due to all these factors that my muscles, they are not recovered, they are tired. If the same day I had decided to run the same 5 kilometers, I would be more prone to get injuries because my muscle fibers are not in their normal capacity. And of course, fatigue will lead again to high injury risk for musculoskeletal disorders. So now let's have a look at different sectors. We can see that all the work-related injuries are present in all the sectors, or most of the sectors. We can see in this graph a comparison between hotels and restaurants, hospitality sector, and mining and quarrying. Both of them double the amount of injuries from 99 to 2007 in this example. This might have to do with the introduction of luxury mattresses in hotels. Okay, so the housekeepers, they have to make the same beds as they did before, but now all the mattresses, they weigh more than double than they used to. So we really have to pay attention into this, and if this is only comparable to mining and quarrying, which is by itself a very demanding demanding work, we really have to pay attention and see the causes and try to prevent it. So if we look a little bit deeper into hospitality, we have a number of housekeepers in a hotel, in average, is around 1/4 of the employees in that hotel, okay, 25%, which, if you think about it, it's a lot. It's a lot when you have, in this case, we have this data from the Eurostat, 2.5 million hotel workers in Europe. 25% of those hotel workers are housekeepers, okay? And then if we look into the reported injury rate, in average, average hotel worker is about 3%, and the housekeeper is almost 8%, okay? It's a really big difference, and within the hotel we have so many different jobs, so many different positions, and the housekeepers account for 1/4 of these employees, and they are suffering a lot of injuries. So why? Why are housekeepers the most affected ones by musculoskeletal disorders? It's mainly due to the physical demanding work they do every day, over and over again. So a housekeeper has to make around 15 to 20 bedrooms per day, and then they have to do, again, wiping, which is a very repetitive work. Then they have to do making the bed, applying awkward postures, and pushing the cart excessive force. So they are always, and they have long shifts in general, so always they are doing the same risk factors over and over again. And we have here some data about bed making, which is a very physical demanding task for housekeepers, mainly because it is combined by 3 of the different risk factors, which is the excessive force. So they have to lift each bed. In this case, 15 lifts per bed, sorry. Lifts per shift is around 375. So it means that they are always applying a lot of force, and then repetition, because they do it over and over again. And then we have awkward postures, because most of them, they have to be quick. They never learn how to make a bed in terms of which correct movement they should use. So it ends up that they will do something like this first picture, okay, because they think it's quicker, and there's nothing wrong with it. But we can see that if you have a lot of back problems, you have to protect yourself. You should probably double kneel in this case, okay, and then you're protecting your back, because that's one of the main problems we have. Okay, so I have a question. Can I ask you a question? Yeah? At this moment, in a scale from 0 to 10, how much is the pain you are feeling if no pain is 0 and 10 is unbearable pain? 6, okay. Can I ask you, okay, 6. It can happen. So at this moment, your rest, you're without doing anything, you're feeling 6. At this moment, 4. It's also. So you were doing a lot of things before you came here? That's why, fatigue. So that's what I was talking about. Okay, so they, some researchers in California, they performed the study where they asked the same exact question to a housekeeper in the morning. They just got there, and they were sitting, and they asked how much pain you're feeling, and they wanted to include housekeepers in that study that felt a pain below 4, okay, just for the pain not to be a factor in the study in the end, in the final outcomes. So they couldn't find housekeepers with a level of pain below 4 at rest, okay? So all of them, they had a level of pain above 4, so they had to increase this threshold to 6 just to make sure they had enough housekeepers to perform the study. So we have to be aware that the housekeepers, they are in physical pain every day, even if they are not working. They are at home and they are in pain. And we have to prevent that. We have to make our employees happier, healthier, and then they will be more productive, because we also want productive employees in the end of the day. So, again, into demographics. If we think about our workforce in a hotel, you have loyal employees, you have young employees. The main difference that if you have loyal employees, your turnover rate is low, which is very good. So you have these motivated employees, they know about your business, and they are happy to work there. So, but it comes with a price. So these employees, they cannot work at the same pace as they did before. So what we need to do in this case is deliver injury preventive training. Okay, so they will be healthier and they will be able to do the same amount of work, but in a correct way, so they can still be productive even though they are aging employees. And then we have the young employees. And one of the biggest problems in hospitality, it's the high turnover rate that we see. Okay, and this comes with costs, onboarding, etc., a lot of training. But if we deliver diverse training and we care about their well-being, they will be happier and they will be willing to stay there because they're happy working there. You're caring about them. Now, another question. If I say ergonomics, what do you think about? The first thing that comes to your mind? Movement. Exactly. So it has to do with movement also. Most of people will think about a desk or a chair, the way you sit, the way your screen is positioned. That's also all ergonomics, okay? In scientific terms, it's a discipline concerned with understanding of the interactions between human beings and the system, everything around us. The way you're sitting, everything, the way my computer is set right now, all of this, it's related to ergonomics. It always puts people first. So the whole idea is that it takes into account people's capabilities and limitations, okay, and tries to arrange the work or the environment to the person. So it's a fit between people and the system, okay? Now, we have different disciplines within ergonomics. This is probably a very new topic for most of you, and you will know everything about it, but you don't know that it's ergonomics. So we have, first of all, organizational ergonomics. Has to do with scheduling times, for example. So it has to do with your company's policies. Then we have cognitive ergonomics. Has to do with memory, reasoning, perception. So the time that you can keep attention while learning, that's also ergonomics. And physical ergonomics, which is the one we'll be focusing on today. It has to do with the human body, okay, and anthropometrics, biomechanics, and the way it relates to physical work, okay, or physical activity in general. It also has to do with materials handling, for example, as I talked before, MSTs, all of that is related to physical ergonomics. So what are the benefits of ergonomics? Ergonomics is important to keep your employee productive. And the way it does that is that if you teach them the correct way of making a bed, for example, really simple, the correct way of mopping, because there is a better way of mopping, it will increase their productivity, well-being, and employee satisfaction, because they know that you care about the way they are doing things, and you care about them. It's not that you just say, you have 15 rooms to clean, please do it, keep them clean. That's not enough nowadays. And then, on the other hand, it decreases the discomfort and pain, so the employee will be happier in the end of the day, less tired, and the injury risk. So, ways to prevent injuries. First of all, we need to have a well-designed workplace and the correct tools to work with. Then training, which is essential, because if you have the right tool or the right chair in your workstation or on your desk, if you don't know how to adjust it for you, to your needs, then this first part doesn't need to be there in first place, right? So you need training. Training is really, really important. And then increase communication. In case of MSDs, they are due to the overuse of the constituents of the musculoskeletal system, and they develop over time, okay? So it's important to be open for communication with the employees, the supervisors, managers, and so on. So then the employee, as soon as he feels that, whoa, I cannot lift my arm more than this, so maybe he goes to you and you can do something about it straight away, and with this avoid losing days at work after 2 weeks, because you will be in a lot of pain and you cannot do anything about it. Just give them some time to rest. So let's now connect the dots and understand how technology can benefit the ergonomics process. So let's start with technology. Nowadays, everyone has a laptop, a smartphone, probably a smartwatch, okay? And these tools, they help us to organize our day. They can also be used to enhance all of these different parts of the phases of the process. Okay, so we have risk assessment, where we assess the risk of an injury in a workplace or just a task. We have the design, where you design new tools and ergonomic tools, or just any tool. And then you have the training, okay, which is essential for the whole process to result and give positive outcomes in the end of the day. So let's start with risk assessment and design. We have a lot of motion capture technology available nowadays. So we have all these motion tracking suits that you've probably seen that people use to make video games, or they use it in the cinema, in films. We have, but can be used for risk assessment. With this, you analyze, track all the movement of the employee, and you can see if they are doing something wrong and how can you avoid that. We also have the smartwatches that can measure heart rate and temperature. And with this, you can measure work duty cycle of an employee in assembly line, for example. And finally, we have the KeyNets, which you probably know from Microsoft, from Xbox. So this can also track movement. And with this, again, you can track the correct movements and see if these movements should be applied in a certain situation, a certain task. We also have virtual and augmented reality. Okay, that's very nice, because with this you become part of the environment. So you can design a workstation. Okay, you can design a bedroom. You can design anything and assess the risk where you're just in an empty space, for example. But for you, you are in that exact environment that you see in front of you. Then we have finally 3D printing, which is becoming more and more popular nowadays. And with this, the designers and engineers can test the prototypes very soon, in an early stage. So they design it, they print it. In this case, you can see that the first image, it's a really raw prototype. So they check if the hand size is good, and so on. The next one, they check if the clicks, how much force you have to apply in order to do a click. And this is also important in physical ergonomics. And finally, if it's good enough, they can go and manufacture the tool. And this can be also used in a telescopic handle of a mop, for example. So it's not only about computer things, it's everything, every kind of tool. Okay, this is a small video about Ford. They use this technology to do risk assessment, okay, and design new tools. So you can see here the motion capture studio. They call their employees industrial athletes, okay, because they use the same kind of technology that you see with sports, in this case applied to the industry, okay. In here you can see the height of the car, for example, and 3D printing also. So they build some prototypes and they test the prototypes before manufacturing it. And here, virtual reality combined with motion capture. So I think this is really, really nice, because we have so many tools. We can bring them into hospitality also. It's not only applied, in this case, in Ford Motors. They are doing a very good job, but we can also do it ourselves in hospitality. And I would say we could start with training, okay? Because training is essential. It's essential to train people. They are the core of our business. And in this case, you have the KeyNets, okay, from Xbox, and you can do the whole onboarding process through this system, for example, and you can also just analyze the movement. You record all the data, because it's a computer, basically, and you have all these data available to you if the employee trained it correctly or not. And because it's tracking the movement, it can also say if you're doing it correctly or not. So you receive feedback straight away. So it is important to keep the employees motivated, and this is a way to do it because you have a kind of interactive training. It has been shown that having an interactive and immersive training leads to higher knowledge retention and user engagement, of course. So let's think practically. Let's have two options, okay? So in the first place, the first picture, you see books. So you have in a book or a leaflet, you have an example of a correct way of doing a squat lift. As probably everyone knows, you should bend at your knees and you should not bend at your waist level to grab a load from the floor. You have nice pictures. You even have a test to assess your knowledge. On the other hand, you have an interactive training, okay, with the video or animation, and you have the KeyNet in front of you. You learn the movement and you have to do it. Okay, and you receive feedback straight away if you're doing it correctly or not. Which one of these two would you say would deliver a better kind of training? The books or the interactive training? Anyone? Hands up for the books. No one? Hands up for the interactive training? Oh, thank you. Okay, so exactly. And this has to do with muscle memory also, because if you perform a task or if you perform a motion, your muscles will remember the correct way of doing it. Okay, it takes time, it takes a lot of practice, but you get there. On the other hand, if you just have pictures and you do not perform the movement straight away, you will end up forgetting it. You don't even know if you're doing it correctly or not. This is what we've been doing at Novility. We provide training, interactive training, using the KeyNets. I will show you a short video about it, okay? So here you see face recognition, so you can recognize the trainee straight away. And this is what the KeyNet sees. So it sees this kind of lines, okay? It's your bones, your joints, and can analyze what you are doing and if you're doing it correctly or not. In this example, we have again the squat lift, okay? You can see that you have the step text. The employee knows what to do, stands up. Very good, well done. The next time, we can see the same, but in this case, the employee doesn't do it correctly. So it starts lifting with their arms instead of with their legs, and you receive a feedback straight away. So you know what you are doing wrong. And I would like to address one of my favorite words, which is awareness, okay? Awareness is an essential skill when it comes to ergonomics and hospitality. So it's really important to know our body, okay, our movements, our capabilities, our limitations in order to prevent injuries. If we don't know we are injuring ourselves, we will not change the way we've been doing things. It's the same as being sitting for 6-8 hours a day in a chair, in a desk, or the way you mop. For example, if you don't know that you should place one hand on top of the mop, the other one at waist level, and this will decrease the exertion on your shoulder muscles, then you will never adopt this kind of movements and postures. Okay, so we have to be aware of our body, and most of all, not most of all, but we have to be aware that most of our housekeepers are suffering injuries and they're in a lot of pain most of the time. So we have to keep them happy, motivated, to be healthier and more productive in the end of the day. One more thing, ergonomics, probably in the beginning nobody knows what ergonomics is, and I hope now you have a little bit more of understanding about ergonomics, and people are more aware of ergonomics in general, not only in designer and engineering point of view, but also the way you move is essential for you to be healthier, okay, in anything you do. So think about your movements, think about your body. And this is it. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you have some questions for me. Any questions? Yes. Yes, so the question is about if there is a difference on how to lift two different mattresses, the one that we had before 99 more or less, and now these luxurious mattresses. Yes, of course there is a difference. If you still adopt the same postures as you did before because they were quite light. So all of this weight, it influences the way you lift and the injury risk. If you keep adopting the same postures, you are more prone to get an injury, of course. And one more thing is that in this example, you saw a housekeeper double kneeling, and a lot of people will say that that will take more time than just going in an awkward position. But it's the same thing when you're learning something new. If you're a right-handed person and you want to start writing with your left hand, it will take a time for you to get used to this left hand. Okay, but when you learn it, then you will be as fast as with the right and with the left hand. So it all has to do with training and learning, okay? And learning not only that you should double kneel in a bed, but why you're double kneeling. So you have to understand that, first of all. Because if the bed is this high, of course you're not going to double kneel. But you have to understand, okay, which posture should I apply if the bed is high? And this is awareness. Thank you. Thanks.